G'day viewers, how they hanging? Peter here. Bit of a different one today because it's pissing down rain, or actually I can probably show you. It's pissing down rain, and so I'm going to be working inside today, and so I thought I'll do something on audio electronics. I suppose I have lots of different interests. I suppose I am a little bit of an audiophile. I've got some speakers inside that I have a definite fondness for, despite their idiosyncrasies, but I do love them. And I've always had a very good stereo my whole life. In fact, when I started work at 15, I started in the January, and I saved really hard. I saved up $800 in 1975. And that was a lot of money. By September, I'd saved enough to buy a stereo. So really, when I started working, the first thing I bought was a hi-fi stereo in 1975, and I've still got some of the equipment. So yeah, it just goes to show you, if you buy something that you're happy with and you look after it, you can have it your whole life, because I'm at the end of my life now. And yeah, so I thought we'll do a little bit of audio electronics today, which I don't think I've put up a video about any of this sort of stuff, so I don't know where it's going to end up. It'll probably be a series of a few videos. I'm actually making this for my daughter Michelle. She was born in 1986, so she has fond memories of listening to stereos when she was a toddler. So yeah, I think we'll head in the house. And actually, I've just noticed there, if you look at that, that is a baby huntsman spider. And if you see the ants, where are the ants? I don't know if you can see them. Yeah, the ants are running around. You wouldn't think that the spider is so big compared to the ants, but I suppose if there's enough of them, the ants won, didn't they? So, yeah, the ants must have attacked the spider, and there just must have been so many of them that the ants won. Now they're working out how to pick him up and carry him back to the nest for dinner. All right, so let's go. This is a bit of a junk room because I'm painting the house, and so just look away at what I'm doing in here. All right, so my daughter Michelle, we had a talk a few weeks ago, and she wants to. She would be interested if I could rustle up a stereo that was similar to the one that she remembers when she was a toddler, which is actually this. These are DCM time window 2s. I call them time windows 2, but they're actually time windows squared. So don't hassle me about I'm using the wrong terminology. I know it's squared, but you can't type squared. And it's easy to just call them 2s, because there's 1s, 1As, 2s, 3s and 7s. But there really isn't 2s, because I understand, I think there's only 2 pairs in Australia and they're very rare. And I understand that these are really a prototype, although it's got a patent number, and they sound fucking grouse if you can put 400 or 500 watts through them, which is not that easy. And they have a time delay, so there's a right and a left speaker. This left-hand side is your direct field, and this right-hand side bounces off the wall, and it's a reflected field. And as you can see, there's two ports down there. So how these are configured, there's a 8¼ inch woofer in the base unit. This head is actually removable. I can't pick it up because I've got one hand holding the phone. And inside here, these are dead symmetrical except for the ports, but driver-wise they're symmetrical. So inside this head unit is the normal Philips 6.5 inch mid-range, although it's a woofer in the normal time windows, and coaxially mounted is a Philips tweeter I think it's a Phillips tweed. I've not pulled these apart, and gee, they sound nice, but I've only got 400 watts to drive them. If you look at this, oh God, I didn't realise again. See down the bottom, I've got a NAD 2200. Disregard the CD player on top of that. Then there's another NAD 2200, and then a NAD 1155 preamp. So these are bridged to mono, which gives me close to 400 watts a side, and that's kind of the barest minimum you need. Anyway, when my daughter Michelle, when she was, well, she was under 1 year old, because she was crawling. She hadn't really walked yet. She used to crawl on the floor and sleep, curl up in the front of this speaker. And this is with a speaker with 400 watts driving it at probably at least half volume, and listening to Alan Parsons or Pink Floyd or Sade. And she'd fall asleep in front of a speaker that was pretty much deafening, and she'd sleep there happily. And she seems to have memories of that. So she's a little bit partial to time windows. And as I said, I think there's only... These ones are on a television show called Sale of the Century, which was a game show, and these were one of the prizes. And so the ones I bought were actually on a game show that no one won that prize, so they went back to the shop. From what I've read, I've done some research before I made this video. They're very rare in America, so I think there may only be a dozen pairs made, or maybe half a dozen, I don't know. And so they're very, very rare. Although if you look in my house, if I turn around here, and as I said, these are the ones that I bought initially in 1984 or whatever it was. And I understand there's only 2 pairs in Australia, and it looks like they're in the same room. So there's a pretty reasonable sound surround sound system. Anyway, for my daughter, I had these time window 1As, and my first thought, I'll give them to my daughter because they sound really, really nice. And then, by a bit of a twist of fate, these ones sound good. I bought them for spare drivers to repair these ones. And, actually, while I got that around, you can see more on this one, I suppose. These ones got the front off, which is not removable. But if anybody's interested, there's a little bit of info there. And there, how can I do this? There is the patent number. So you could attenuate the 3 drivers, and then the input is down the bottom. So there must be a crossover inside the base. Now getting back to the 1As, I bought these as sacrificial to the drivers to repair. The other ones, I had blown up a few drivers, let's be honest. And my original plan was to give these to my daughter, but they look pretty shabby. They sound great, but they look pretty shabby. So these are time window 1s, which you can tell because if I come down the bottom here, if I raise its skirt a little bit, can you see a bead of like adhesive sealant material? So this top and bottom cap is glued on to the base, which is your DCM time window shape. And the ones have I can feel it, it's a 6.5 inch driver there and a Phillips tweeter here and 2 ports. So I don't know if you can see, there's a port there, and then on the other side, it's lower down, it's a port there. But I was a bit disappointed. I thought these speakers sound great and she would love them, but they look pretty shabby. And then by a twist of fate, these came up on Facebook Marketplace, and these are 1As, right? So those ones are ones. Well, actually, just while here's a little that's an award I got when I was about 18 years old. It's always nice to be the best at something. I was the best at something in 1977 when I was 18 years old. I was the best in the state. And, 77 seems like a lifetime ago. But I did used to be good at something. And getting back to the speakers, so I bought these, but he had no equipment to test them. They weren't hooked up to anything. He was using them as flower pot stands, where he had some pottery statues on top of them, and he was using them as plinths. But he said they were working when he last used them, which was 17 years ago. So I bought them on a whim and got them home, and they do work. However, one of them has got blown up drivers, and I wasn't sure if it was the caps, the crossover, or if it was the tweeters. And I kind of listened to them to determine as much as I could. And I actually think it's the woofers. So these ones have slightly different construction in that the top and the bottom, there's a rod with a threaded bar goes up the middle, and so they're much easier to disassemble. So I've got this one apart, as I usually do. I started working before I thought about filming. So if anyone's interested, here is the crossover. There's only 5 caps in there. It's a fairly simple crossover, as you can see. There's 4 big inductors. I noticed one's got an aluminium core and all the rest are air cores. So my first thought was to change out the caps because they are cheaper. And if we come up this end, I'm fortunate too that it's even got the little badges on it. I don't know what you can see up in there. There's your 2 drivers. And I'm pretty sure that they are both blown up. And I think you can see in there, see the drivers there, but also see how there's a bit of felt over the top. I call them eyelids. I think DCM gave it some diffracting Fresnel lens or some bullshit name, but anyway, it's a bit of felt over the top part, or the top portion, so I call them eyelids. Now, these 2 drivers appear to be blown, and that other speaker sounds all right. So, and here's the threaded bar, as you can see, it goes up the middle. So these are very easy to disassemble. The 1As are easy to disassemble. The ones, very, very difficult, and high probability of breaking the cabinet, which you don't really want to do. So, what am I going to use for drivers? As is my want, you see I've got this here. This is a DCM CX27. I don't think these were sold in Australia, I'm not quite sure, but I bought these on eBay about 10 years ago and had them shipped over when postage prices were a bit more reasonable. And because a pair of these is 2 6.5-inch drivers and a tweeter. Now the tweeter is different. It's only a 1/2-inch tweeter, I think, not a 3/4. But it was mounted coaxially. But anyway, I've got 4 drivers for this. So at the moment, I've pulled the drivers out, as you can see they're over here, and I've listened to each driver individually through this crossover, so I know that each driver works, and I've measured the value, and they're about 5 ohms, which is what they're rated at. Now, I'm not sure if these are 5 or 8 ohms, but it looks like I've got 4 drivers that work, and I will probably change, because these ones have a plastic cone, which, if you can see that, it's a plastic cone. And I don't know till I get them out, but I'm going to presume this is a paper cone, and I'm going to presume that they're the same. All right, so have I done the amplifier? Yeah, so the amplifier I've got for my daughter is this one here. It's a NAD, so that'll be sort of like her dad's, and it came with a DVD player. So this is a NAD 3240. Now these 1s and 1As are much more efficient speakers than the 2s, so you don't need 400 watts on these. These are 40 watts is tons for these. That's not an issue. So she should have a really good system, but I bought it at the right price. But I've got to change at least half the drivers and probably cap the crossovers. I'm not sure if I'll cap them or not. I'll do the drivers first and see how it goes. But this is my audiophile job. So that's a little bit of an invite into my history as a 16 to 18-year-old kid listening to good stereo equipment. And now I've got, what, 1, 2, 3, 4 pairs of DCM time windows in the one room. There's probably not many houses that can say that. And I've had them since 1985, I think. And I really do have an affection for them. They are beautiful speakers, and still are, if you can get them running right without blowing up drivers. So I'll say, ooroo.